Hello everybody and welcome to Diamond Gunsmithing LLC. I am Derek Shue and I am here today to give you a little look as to what it is I am providing to you all and why. First of all, I am Derek Shue, CEO of Diamond Gunsmithing LLC, and my background is I am a gunner's mate in the United States Navy for almost 20 years and 8 months, and in about 5 days, I'm gonna retire. Hence, here we are today starting up a new business. My background in guns started the day that I shot my first gun, which was the Beretta M9 in boot camp the summer of 2005, and I loved everything about it from that first trigger pull. We shot the Beretta M9 9mm, the AR-15 M16 model, and the Mossberg 12-gauge shotgun. I loved everything from loading the magazines to pulling the trigger and the bangs and the recoil and the smells. I loved every bit of it, and it made being a gunner's mate in the Navy that much more enjoyable, which allowed me to stay motivated and to learn more and more every chance that I had. I am married to my wife, LaRasha. I have 4 beautiful children, Natalia, Juliana, Benjamin, and Abigail. They are absolutely awesome, yet crazy in the sense that they keep my life frosty and always keep me on my toes and my blood pressure up, which may concern my doctors a little bit, but that's neither here nor there. So guns. Guns to me is like a puzzle. We always have that puzzle that we have taken apart, putting back together so many times, we almost know where all the pieces are. But the fun part is when you get that one gun you know nothing about, and you are just so eager to learn about it, put your hands on it, figure it all out. For example, I had this one gun, I was working at a gun shop one day, and it was an over-under shotgun. Knew nothing about it. Hell, I haven't even fired one, much less held one. And my boss was saying they were having issues with the firing sequence, which first of all, I didn't even realize that those types of shotguns had a firing sequence. Means that you can slide a lever to determine which barrel you want to shoot first. So he says that the customer can fire the top barrel, but then the next round when he shifts over to the bottom barrel, he can't fire. So I dig deep and I learned so much about it and how they actually work, figured out how to take it apart, learned about each piece, and I also figured out how to get it fixed for the guy. It was great and I loved every minute of it. Me touching a new gun that I have never touched before, I can get lost in time. I'm in there doing my research, I'm touching it, figuring it all out, and just all out having fun, which is why I want to start this company. All right. My old man, rest in peace, passed away actually almost a year ago to the day. Used to tell me that if you don't like what you're doing, then you're doing something wrong. I don't need all the money in the world. I need enough to pay the bills, raise my family, and have a little bit of fun. But I don't need millions. I really don't. I would rather be happy making low money than being stuck in a job day in, day out that I despise, but I get all this other money. At what expense? My mental health? That's not okay, because, you know, while my kids and wife may end up getting a bunch of gifts, toys, and things, they're also gonna have a cranky and depressed, you know, husband or father. I don't want that for them, you know? And I also want to teach them that you have to work for what you want. You have to work hard for what you want. And when you work hard, the fruits of your labor will be abundant. So that's why I'm starting this company. My educational background mostly comes from the Navy. 20 years in the Navy as a gunner's mate. You learn a lot, but a lot on just the guns that they offer us. For the longest time, until we changed to the SIGs, we had the Beretta M9, the M16, and then the Mossberg shotgun. We also have crew serve weapons and light machine guns like the 240 Bravo, which is a 7.62 NATO belt-fed machine gun, and then also the Browning M2 50 caliber machine gun. So my education started as an intro in boot camp when they showed us the Beretta, the M16, and then the Mossberg, but got even more in depth when I went to GMA school, which not only did they show us those three, they showed us the M60, which was replaced by the M240 Bravo, the 50 cal, the Mark 19, which is a 40 millimeter machine gun. Very sad that I never got a chance to actually fire one of those, but I put my hands on a couple during trainings, and I really like that. And then they also, showed us the M14, as well as the M79 40 millimeter grenade launcher, and among some other things. But they taught us every aspect about the guns, how to take them apart, clean them, take care of them, put them all back together. So that was a little bit more detailed schooling and education that I had, starting at a young age of, 18. Going through the years, you go through other schools like Security Reaction Force Basic, which doesn't really teach you too much about guns, but it does send you through the firing line because you have to be able to, shoot in order to get qualified. But then in advance, they go a little bit more in depth on the weapons and what weapons are at your disposal, as well as security tactics and such like that. Even further than that, I was part of the Visit Boarding Search and Seizure team, which is the Navy's boarding team. And that is a security team that was fully jocked up from head to toe with a primary long arm and a secondary pistol, all sorts of other gears. They throw you into a speedboat, you go to another boat, you conduct a mission, whatever that may be, and you come on back, hopefully safely. I've done quite a few with the Coast Guard. They were called Omni missions. We had to make sure that fishing vessels in the Pacific and Atlantic were actually fishing for what they were licensed for. And we're looking for poachers because it's a delicacy in the Middle East for shark fin soup. And poachers would cut off all the fins of a shark and then throw the carcass back into the ocean. Wouldn't even kill the shark. Just cut it, toss it, and be done. Things like that, that kind of breaks my heart that, there's people out there that would like that. If you're gonna take parts from an animal, at least give them the decency and kill it. But they didn't. So that was a lot of the missions that I did. Another school that I went through was a crew serve weapons instructor. So I taught sailors how to fire the 240 Bravo and the 50 cal machine guns. I wanted Sammy. The time and a place was never in my favor to get it. However, I have ran well more than enough ranges and have been coached and have coached and have led ranges that if I went through the school, I have no problems going through it all. But from what I hear, it's a really fun school, challenging, but fun. And then on a college level, I went through Sonoran Desert Institute, or SDI, as you may hear a lot of people say. And I did my advanced gunsmithing certificate program. which taught me so much more going through, and seeing how much I didn't know made me feel like another recruit again, which made me eager to learn all the different types of platforms for a pistol, all the different types of rifles, ballistics, and the laws, how to set up a business. I learned it all through SDI, and I want to give a shout out to them because they were an absolute godsend. I feel like I know better, that I'm more equipped to be able to start up this business, and I encourage you all to look into it. And if you are even just a gun enthusiast and you have the money to burn, get involved and take the courses. They also offer an associates in firearms, and if you're so inclined, an associates in aerial unmanned aircraft or drones. So maybe one day I'll get those other two. So why diamond gunsmithing? I have always had a dream to own my own gun shop and gun range. Obviously, with my background in firearms throughout the Navy, it almost, fits perfectly to conduct such business, but I want to do it in a manner that educates people, that makes them make appropriate decisions when buying firearms, or to give the resources to be able to disassemble, reassemble, or clean their firearms. Reason why I want to do those videos is because I always find it hard to find the right video on a particular gun that I know nothing about, and I can't find a video of how to take it apart or the papered resources to do so. So I want to bring all that knowledge back to life, and any chance I get, whether my friends get a new firearm, or I buy a new firearm, or a customer brings one in, and after I clean it, I'll do a full, disassembly and reassembly for everyone, so that everyone has those resources on hand to take care of their firearms. By all means, gunsmiths are important, all right? The world needs gunsmiths, because there are things that if you don't know what it is you're doing, you can really, either damage a firearm or put yourself or your health in danger by not doing something appropriately, or in the midst of reassembling, you either forget a part or you broke a part, and now you're at risk that your firearm blows up in your face. And I don't want that for people. I want to be there to fix their firearms for what they can't fix, to help them either modify their firearms or give them upgrades, or educate them and do whatever I can so they can also have fun with firearms and maybe even learn a little bit from it. So it's important to have gunsmiths in the world. There are two people that influenced me into doing so. And they're both brothers in Christ. The first brother of mine, his name is Mark Mandrino. Now, if any of you are in the Jacksonville area, Mark runs a diner called Terry's Grill, and it is by all means the best breakfast I've ever had. So if you're ever in the area on the north side, Google up Terry's Grill. Really good food. But they're not open on Sundays, just FYI. But I was telling Mark about my dreams to become a gunsmith. And this was well before I even thought of, diamond gunsmithing and starting up a business. I just knew I wanted to be a gunsmith. And he introduced me to another brother named Larry Summons. And Larry Summons is like me, but he retired from the Army. Oddly enough, he was a paper pusher, but still learned all about firearms, had a love for firearms, and after he got out, he owns his own business, instructs, has his own FFL and whatnot, and he is trying to make me like him serving the Lord in what we love to do. So I want to thank Mark and Larry for helping me with all this. If it wasn't for you two, I don't know where I would be or if I'd be doing any of this right. So thank you very much, guys. With Diamond Gunsmithing, we offer services like cleaning, which is $45 per firearm, flat out. I also offer repairs. If I find out what's wrong with it and there's broken parts, I'll let you know. And if you're good with my recommendations of what to do, we can go forth with it. I'll buy the parts for you. And I charge $60 an hour with a little markup fee on parts of 50% of the part price for anything that is below $50, and then 30% on anything greater than $50. I also offer modifications. If somebody wants to trick out their firearms or they want to do builds, we can sit down and talk about it. We can go over all sorts of gear and equipment and parts and modifications, and we can work on it together. And once I actually start putting hands on it all, that is all another, $60 per hour with parts if need be, unless if you bring me the parts, and then I'll just install them for you. My ultimate goal with Diamond Gunsmithing is to not just do the 3 things that I'd previously mentioned, but to also get into customizing. So like hydro dipping or any type of decals that you may want to add to your firearm. And also I want to get into full refurbishments. If you've ever seen videos of those guys and they have these ginormous just bricks of rust and they break it all down, they clean it all up, and they make it look pretty again. I want to do that. I think that was really cool. I love watching those videos. I'll put a link on here for one of the channels that I really like to watch. But I do offer that if you bring me any rust buckets that are completely seized up, old, beat up, decrepit, you can't even tell what kind of firearm it is, much less whose it is, I will pay you $100 for that rust bucket for me to refurbish and maybe even put back out in circulation one day. I will also have my own FFL. I would like to have my own line of firearms down the line, but we're not close to that point yet. And my ultimate goal is to one day have Diamond Gunsmithing be its own building with a shop, a gunsmith, and a range. And I'm gonna pay somebody to run that place, and I'm just gonna show up every day, clean, fix, and shoot guns all day. That is my end goal, and I will die a happy man knowing I made it to that part because of God and the Lord Jesus Christ made it so. The next thing I'd like to talk about is why God? There may be some people that are like, you don't want to mix business with religion or business with pleasure and all that such. Never mind all that. Why God? Because of God. Everything we have is His. We're just here borrowing time, borrowing His things. And with His greatest sacrifice, sending His Son to earth to be crucified and dying on the cross for our sins, why not? If this is something that you believe in, why wouldn't you want to integrate it into something that you love? People do it with family. People do it with their health. Why not integrate it with your job, with your passion, with your hobbies? Because if it wasn't for God and for Jesus Christ, we would not be able to enjoy the things that we have today. The world would be even more evil than it is. There'd be more destruction, and this world would sooner turn into what the real world of the Matrix looks like without all the AI, without them. So I do it with God because of God. Now, there's also two scriptures that I like to quote with it as to my reasoning why I do what I do, right? If you bear with me, I did bring my word. This is the greatest tool that anybody can have, whether you are a gunsmith, a lawyer, a doctor, a janitor, whoever may be, right? This here is your greatest tool, right? Bible stands for basic instruction for basic living something. I forgot what the E stood for. Somebody once told me that, and I was like, you know what? That's absolutely true. But the first one I want to quote is from Colossians 3, verses 23 and 24. Work hard and cheerfully at whatever it is you do, as though you were working for the Lord rather for people. Remember, the Lord will give you an inheritance as your reward, and the master you are serving is Christ. Now, this verse emphasizes that working with sincerity and diligence and knowing your ultimate service is to God. The next verse I want to quote is from the book of Matthew, chapter 20, verses 26 through 28. And it says, "But among you, it should be quite different. Whoever wants to be a leader among you must be your servant. And whoever wants to be first must become your slave. For even I, the Son of Man, came here not to be served, but to serve others, and to give my life as a ransom for many." This one shows us that true greatness is found in serving others, mirroring what Christ is showing us to do, right? Those are the two quotes that I like to quote as to why I am doing this business. Because again, this is all for Him, right? I am in service to you all for His glory. During the times that I'm not actively working on any of your firearms, here's what you can expect to see from me and my Facebook page, Instagram, and YouTube. There will be a website here soon, so stick around for that. But, this is a gunsmithing business, so you're going to see videos like before and after cleaning. I want you to be comfortable knowing that whatever it is you give me, I'm going to clean it as if it came right off of the assembly line. If you don't believe me, check out my Ruger 1022 video from a buddy of mine. He had this rifle when he was 14. He is now in his early 30s now. Probably hasn't fired it, much less cleaned it, for at least 2 decades. And this thing was filthy, right? I'm pretty sure that when they got the rifle, they never stripped it down to clean off all the manufacturing goop that they put on there for long-term storage. And over the years of firing it, the goop got black and gunky and dirty. And my buddy told me, this thing, it just needs a good cleaning. It doesn't action right. It sounds, sluggish, and I'd really like for you to clean it. I said, no problem, And you know what? I've actually never, handled a 1022 before. So like I do with all firearms I don't know, did a little bit of research on it, found some videos, did it myself, gave you guys a good product. So If you want to see some of the extent of what I'm doing, take a look at that cleaning video. And there will be more to come. Also, disassembly and reassembly videos. Any chance I get on any type of firearm, I am going to submit a disassembly and reassembly video. And not just on a field strip level, right? Because sometimes you really got to break it down further to clean it. I am here as a service for you guys, right? If you don't want to do that, by all means, bring it to me. But if you want to learn it, and if you really want to know your firearms, I'm going to give you the resources to do it yourself, okay? But don't forget about me though. Other things you're going to see are probably some gun-related articles, maybe a this versus that, you know, whether it may be firearms or cleaning supplies or certain modifications, I'll put them in there. And of course, because of who I'm working for, you're going to see some scripture. I hope that with that, it doesn't offend any of you. But quite honestly, if it does, I don't really care because I serve a higher power. Maybe one day it will speak to you and God will speak to you, right? And he will change your life like he changed mine. And then there's going to be more. All right, I'm going to try to do that weekly. All right, give you guys some new stuff. And if you haven't heard anything from me in a little while, hey, drop me a message. Be like, yo, Derek, what's going on? I haven't heard from you in a while. Be like, you know what, man? Been a little bit busy, but I apologize. You know, that's the work of the enemy. Let me go ahead and get you guys a video of something. So I'll make sure that I give you guys something weekly. Here are my final thoughts. Be happy. Love one another. Take care of one another. Respect one another. That's all anyone can ever ask for. There are so many shops and services out there that you could just go out with your friends, go buy new guns, clothes, video games, whatever it may be. We offer these services for you, not only just to make money, but to make you guys happy. There's too much ugly in this world. We don't need to add to it. We don't need any more racism. We don't need any more hate. We need love. Love is what's going to get us through the day-to-day schedules. You know, life is too short to be mad all the time. You know, and why are you mad? Why are you mad because others have more than you do, or because others look different from you? You know, what's it going to give you? You're not going to get a foothold in life. You're not going to make any more money with hate and discontent. If anything, you will be the only one that is satisfied, but everyone around you will be upset and they will be sad. We don't want sadness. We want happiness. We want love. Okay? Jesus tells us to love your neighbor as you would want someone to love you. So the moral of the story, live, love, and laugh. And if that doesn't work, you take all your gear and you go to the range and you reload, aim, and shoot. You all have a great day. Thank you very much for following me. Please continue to follow me, share me with all your friends, and I hope one day I get to be in service to you all. Thank you, and God bless.